In the world of international politics, a new drama has popped off like hot popcorn. Donald Trump, the former president who loves to play tough, is said to be ready to destroy Russia's economy if Vladimir Putin refuses to make peace. The claim caused a stir, especially coming from Senator Lindsey Graham, known for his blunt statements. But when you look at what really happened, the story is far from tough, bro. Just 3 days before Graham's comments made headlines, Trump had a 3-hour coffee chat with Putin in Alaska. Instead of showing his teeth, Trump walked out of the room grinning, hands locked in a firm handshake, with an aura that made people wonder, is this a superpower president or an intern asking for his boss's autograph? Funny, right? He was supposed to deliver serious consequences if Russia refused to budge, but it all ended in warmth. Even a Fox journalist joked that Putin arrived like a bulldozer, barged in, took some photos, and left. George Will from the Washington Post threw shade, saying even Putin, currently facing war crimes charges, looked relaxed because he knew Trump was all talk. All those ultimatums and deadlines sounded like a vegetable seller's morning megaphone, loud, but not scary. Now Graham is saying Trump is ready to cripple Russia's economy. But in Alaska, Trump was calling Putin boss. So, is he threatening a rival or applying for a job? There are even reports that Trump phoned Putin in the middle of a meeting with European leaders, like asking for a hall pass to the cafeteria. Boss, is it okay? Lol. Meanwhile, Trump's loyalists aren't sitting idle. Steve Witkoff, a U.S. envoy that Anne Applebaum once dubbed an amateur, leapt to his defense, claiming Trump is the world's greatest negotiator. According to him, every world leader who meets Trump becomes a fan. Well, if that's true, Putin should have signed a peace deal in Alaska. But Applebaum says Witkoff has misread the situation. Russia isn't a foe you can intimidate with swagger. The result, Trump came home with a photo op, not a peace agreement. Congressman Ryan Zinke of Montana also joined the choir, praising Trump to the heavens. Oddly, he started rambling about the land bridge connecting Crimea to Russia. Is this geopolitics or SimCity? Trump keeps talking tough about his peace mission, but it sounds more like surrender. Peace through surrender could be a slogan for a discount clothing store. Let it slide, as long as it's chill. Applebaum argues that America has all the tools to make Putin sweat, arm Ukraine, tighten sanctions, cut off drone supplies, crush the Russian economy. Just push a button. But Trump seems more interested in watching the drama than writing the ending. Why? Because Trump prefers to look tough than actually be tough. Style first, action later. The problem is, his allies are now scrambling to sell the narrative that their boss is a hero, when he actually looked terrified. Tough job, bro, tough job. Graham says time is running out. If Russia doesn't comply, Trump should slap high tariffs on nations still buying Russian oil and gas. But everyone knows those threats are like New Year's fireworks, loud at first, gone in a flash. He also mentioned a Plan B. Ironically, that means Congress acting without Trump. Which isn't really a Plan B, bro. Just more Hollywood drama. The Republican Party now seems lost. First, they gave their power to right-wing media, then to Trump. And now Trump seems to have handed his influence over to Putin. So, who's the boss? Anyone. Some speculate Putin has dirt on Trump. But he doesn't even need that, bro. Putin just has to redirect Russia's propaganda machine, turning it on Trump instead of his enemies. That alone could sink the MAGA brand. Trump is already under fire for refusing to release the Epstein files. If the Kremlin wanted to play dirty, it'd be easy to make Trump look weak in front of his own base. Russian media is already laughing at the Alaska meeting. They say Putin scored a decisive win. Their narrative is now echoed by Western media, making it even harder for Team Trump to sell their heroic storyline. Even conservative British newspapers are mocking him. Trump is now irrelevant in Ukraine. The boastful, fickle, easily duped US president is no longer leading the West. Brutal, bro, but that's the reality. Trump's allies in Washington face an uphill battle, convincing people they didn't just see what they clearly saw. A political magic trick. The Economist reports Trump's foreign policy approval rating has tanked to -14. Americans might not know every country on a map, but they can spot a scared leader. And Trump looked scared walking out of that room with Putin. Why scared? Maybe because Putin delivered a simple message: whoever can destroy something, controls it. That message is tattooed in Trump's mind. He'd rather bow than confront. Now the Republican Party bows, too. This chain of weakness is like dominoes. Right-wing media bows to Putin, Trump bows to Putin, and the GOP bows to Trump. In the end, nothing changes. This whole saga has left the world confused. The supposed superpower that could push a button to terrify Russia now seems hostage to its own ego. Meanwhile, Ukraine continues to fight, with its people suffering daily. The West should be their shield, but instead it's trapped in a domestic drama spiral. Graham can talk tough all he wants, but without real action, his words are just Twitter memes waiting to happen. Trump can posture all he wants, but the world already sees who's in control. Putin smiles calmly while Washington argues with itself. If this continues, history will record one thing: the leader of the world's most powerful nation was outplayed by a former KGB agent. And yes, Trump seems far more focused on optics. Looking fierce matters to him. But if that only makes Putin stronger, what's the point? Behind the drama, all Ukraine wants is peace. But that peace won't come from Western bravery, only from their leaders' reluctance to take risks. In the end, Trump's choice is clear: pose for the cameras, but fold at the negotiating table. And his party follows suit. Putin, meanwhile, can just sit back, sip tea, and watch his opponents tear each other apart. On the other side of the aisle, Democrats aren't pulling any punches. Several members of Congress said the Trump-Putin meeting wasn't diplomacy, it was cosplay. Harsh words, bro. Some even said Trump looked like the host of a reality show, not the leader of a superpower. Foreign media joined in. Le Monde in France ran a piece saying Trump made Putin look like a mentor. Der Spiegel in Germany noted the meeting didn't bring peace but instead boosted Russian confidence. In Washington, the political scene feels like a presidential debate stage, minus the theme music. Even some Republican senators, usually unwilling to criticize Trump, have started whispering concerns that America's image is slipping among its allies. Some analysts are calling this a golden moment for Putin. With the West busy debating the Alaska drama, Russia can quietly recalibrate its war strategy with minimal resistance. Some observers say this was political photography, meaning Trump cared more about a picture with Putin than the actual negotiations. The photo becomes campaign material, while Ukraine just has to wait. There's even a viral meme on Twitter showing Trump and Putin as newlyweds honeymooning in Alaska. Love wins, read the caption. The internet is savage, bro. But creative. Graham is still doubling down, claiming Trump will respond if Russia keeps pushing. But the public is skeptical. Respond with what? Tweets, asked a political analyst on MSNBC. Amid all this drama, Ukraine still hopes for real action. Zelensky keeps pleading for more weapons and harsher sanctions. But Washington is busy clarifying the headlines from that infamous meeting. Applebaum tweeted, "While we debate photos and optics, Ukrainians are dying every day. Diplomacy is not about branding." Her post went viral. The bigger problem is that US politics has turned into a never-ending soap opera. The Trump versus Putin episode might just be the beginning. Behind the scenes, there's a bigger battle between America's own political factions. Ordinary Americans are growing weary. The Economist poll shows most people don't trust Trump to handle global crises. Many feel their country has lost its way. Putin, on the other hand, remains calm. Russian media openly mocks Trump on air. One host said, "He came with threats, and left with a smile." Western allies are getting restless. Britain and France are pushing Washington to act decisively, but they know the US is distracted by domestic drama. Quietly, Europe is preparing its own plans to counter Russia. NATO officials are reportedly drafting backup strategies, just in case Trump really does nothing. They don't want Ukraine standing alone on the front lines. But again, this is like a soap opera with no finale. Everyone's playing their role, forgetting the actual goal: stopping the war. Trump continues projecting confidence, saying his strategy will succeed. Without proof, many see this as a campaign tactic to shore up domestic support. If you think about it, this is like a chess game. The difference: Putin is playing seriously, while Trump is busy taking selfies with the board. Ukraine is the pawn under attack from all sides. Analysts warn, if the US doesn't act decisively soon, Russia will only grow stronger, potentially widening the conflict. But does Trump care? That's the billion-dollar question. Some fear the Alaska meeting signals to other nations that the US is weaker than it looks. If Trump can be intimidated, the world could shift faster than we imagine. For Putin, this isn't just about Ukraine. It's about proving who's really in charge. And unfortunately, the meeting gave him a free stage to do just that. As the world waits for the next move, one thing is clear: global politics has never felt this much like Netflix, full of drama, plot twists, and eccentric characters. And it seems the next episode will bring even more surprises that leave us shaking our heads. Looking back at this week's political drama, one message is painfully clear: the world is starving for real leadership, not just optics. Donald Trump, with all his bravado and signature flair, has shown a side he's long tried to conceal: that threats without action are nothing but empty echoes. The Alaska meeting, which was supposed to be a diplomatic showcase, became a stage for symbolism that only strengthened Vladimir Putin's global standing. This isn't just about the war in Ukraine, but America's credibility as a superpower. In an era where propaganda moves faster than bullets, a single photo or gesture can reshape global perception. And in this case, the perception is undeniable: Putin appeared confident, while Trump seemed hesitant. That's the risk of diplomacy built on branding. This editorial isn't partisan commentary, it's a blaring alarm for anyone in power. The world isn't waiting for leaders who can deliver punchy quotes. It's waiting for leaders who will take decisive, even unpopular, steps to preserve stability. Because Ukraine's war is not just Ukraine's war, it ripples through food prices, energy markets, and global security. Yet what we see is a narrative meltdown. Republicans are busy polishing Trump's image, partisan media is rewriting the script, while the facts on the ground tell a starkly different story. Allies are moving independently because they can no longer rely fully on Washington. The world is watching and taking notes. America is no longer the unquestioned lighthouse it once was. Meanwhile, Ukraine fights on. Amid missile strikes, drone raids, and energy shortages, its people cling to hope. They aren't asking for flowery speeches, they want concrete action. But action feels elusive as Washington spirals into its own domestic drama. Instead of reinforcing alliances, it's trapped in debates over photos and handshakes. History shows that great leaders emerge in times of crisis. But right now, the world stage is dominated by characters obsessed with optics, not results. Trump may believe his tough image can bend the world, but history doesn't immortalize leaders for photo ops, it remembers those who made hard choices when the world was holding its breath. The Alaska meeting is just one chapter in the long book of geopolitics, but this chapter carries a sobering lesson: power unused is power lost. Putin knows this game well, and Washington, with all its resources, looks like a giant that's lost its way. If America wants to retain its role as a global leader, it must break free from the grip of personal drama and partisan theater. The world is on fire, and Ukraine is the frontline in a battle between democracy and authoritarianism. When the leader of the free world looks shaky, the message to democracy's enemies is clear: attack now, and the West will be too busy debating optics to mount a response. In geopolitics, weakness isn't just weakness. Weakness is an invitation, and right now, that invitation is wide open. The world is waiting. Will Washington rise to this moment in history, or will it leave a legacy of a superpower whose leader preferred to look strong rather than be strong?